Noi ora abbiamo previsto alcuni interventi a livello europeo. Infatti ricordo che abbiamo anche una traduzione in simultanea sia per i presenti che per chi è collegato online. Annuncio quindi l'intervento di Liviu Stirbat della Direzione generale Azione per il clima della Commissione europea, a cui abbiamo chiesto un'introduzione relativa alla legge europea sul clima e a come portare l'adattamento al livello successivo. Intanto benvenuto, grazie Liviu della disponibilità e prego il suo intervento. Grazie.
Grazie mille. Thank you very much. I will speak in English. My Italian, I followed the lecture until now in Italian, but so I understand, but my speaking in Italian is not so good. So I will present in English. Let me open my presentation. I have a few slides that I would like to share. Perfect. Thank you. So I would like to start by thanking you for the invitation, for the opportunity to join you even from Brussels. So I was not able to come, and with our strength and our adaptation and our resilience and technology, we heard about it in the panel before, we are able to adapt even to challenges that are relatively small compared to climate change, like the pandemic now, but adaptation is still within our reach. I'll present to you the broader context in which adaptation is being tackled at the level of the European Union, but please keep in mind that all of the things that I will be saying would lead to nothing if it were not for local action, like Veneto Adapt, like all of the actions that you take at the even at the city level or individually to face the challenge of mitigation, to take action to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, but on adaptation as well to adapt to the climate crisis that we have. So I will start with the message that we send to all of the Europeans and also all of the our international partners outside of the European Union, which is the fact that the climate change impacts are already here. You've heard in the lecture just before a recap, a reminder of the horrible impacts that we've already had, like the heat waves, 2003, the heat dome in Canada over the summer, the floods, but also the intensification of natural events that we've had for a long time, like the tide, like Aqua Alta and all of these things. So the impacts are already here with us. And the ones that we can expect can be even stronger. The second message that is very important to understand is that they are affecting every region in Europe. Again, for Veneto, this is a reality. We've also heard it in the lecture just before, but it's not, or it was not until recently the case everywhere in Europe. And this is something that needs to be understood by everyone. And we've had nowadays forest fires, mega forest fires above the Arctic Circle. That is something that we've never had before as a result of climate change. We have, so in the north, in the south, we know very well the Mediterranean being a hotspot for climate change. We have the Atlantic coast being eroded by the rise of the sea level. And in the east, we have really catastrophic droughts and forest destruction as a result of insect invasion, like a bark beetle, which are destroying entire forests. For instance, in Czechia, basically all their forests are now compromised and need to be cut. The third message that is very important that we pass at the EU level, both when talking to the EU member states, but also to our international partners, is the fact that even in the best case scenario, even if we change everything overnight, these impacts will be with us for decades. And the previous speakers explained this much better, the inertia that we have to face. With all of these challenges, what we have done at the EU level is we have used the policy context, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. You've also seen them in the slide before, where we were also told al lavoro, we need to start acting on these goals, and climate change is really preventing progress on all of them. We also have the Paris Agreement, which was also discussed, and this needs to be integrated. But very importantly, we have the European Green Deal. This is the roadmap for sustainable growth for Europe, and with its international dimension, an invitation for partnering with the rest of the world. We also heard that even if Veneto stops its emissions, or if Europe stops its emissions, nothing will change if China, the Americans, India, they don't do the same. So that is why it was important for the Green Deal to be for the EU, but for our partners as well, an invitation to make the right changes together. So this Green Deal is a puzzle of many interrelated policy and funding initiatives, and adaptation to climate change is integrated in all of them. We have the European Climate Law, which is basically like a constitutional type of legislation that we have since summer of this year, since July of 2021. It is in force throughout the EU, and which sets into legislation the goal to be climate neutral by 2050, and the aspiration to be climate resilient by 2050 as well, so to be adapted to the unavoidable climate impact. But we also have the farm to fork strategy. So agriculture, again, we've heard about this. Agriculture at 50 degrees Celsius is really a horrible scenario. So we have to prepare for that as well. We have the biodiversity strategy, climate change being one of the main drivers of biodiversity loss. We also have the forest strategy, which also came out this summer to help protect our forests so that they in turn can protect us by storing greenhouse gases and by regulating temperature on land. And even in more or in less traditional areas of policy, like finance, with the sustainable finance strategy, helping insurers to better target their insurance products in this world that we are starting to live in, where climate hazards are so much more frequent and so much more powerful, and many more. So the main, so as I mentioned, adaptation is integrated in all of these initiatives that together form the European Green Deal. But the main development, the main focus is in the EU Adaptation Strategy. The EU Adaptation Strategy, which I will briefly run through, tries to bring together all of these elements of the Green Deal on energy, on circular economy, on biodiversity, on nature-based solutions, together in a consistent way that also empowers the real actors, the regions, the cities, the individuals to together become climate resilient. The objectives are to help bring about the aspiration in the climate law that by 2050 the EU is a climate resilient society, one that is fully adapted to the unavoidable impacts of climate change. Adaptation does not mean that we stop trying to prevent. We are still trying to prevent the unadaptable while adapting to the unpreventable. It's one way to say that we need both mitigation and adaptation. And it has four main avenues of action. The first is to make adaptation smarter, then to make it more systemic, more integrated into all areas of our lives, to accelerate it, to make it faster, and also to bring it to an international setting. I have to tell you that the strategy of 2021, which was adopted in the EU Green Deal, is an update of the first EU strategy, which was from 2013, and that one was purely focused on the European Union. It was really just domestic. ignoring all of the implications of climate change impact outside of the Union, having an impact on our lives, on our nature, on our businesses. So that was a big gap that was addressed with this strategy. Very briefly going through each of these, in terms of smarter adaptation at the EU level, we are investing a lot into research on adaptation, into finding new solutions, new ways of adapting, on also collecting more data and better data on the kind of climate impacts that have already taken place. So for instance, but also to project for the future. So when you buy a house, for instance, you would be able to find out what kind of flooding, what kind of exposure to heat waves that particular house has had in the past, and what you can expect in the future. And all of this will be made available and reinforced. We will translate it as well onto Climate Adapt, which is the European platform for knowledge on adaptation. In terms of integrating it into all of the areas, the focus will be on supporting regions, cities, all communities to better plan for adaptation, but also to look at the social aspects, at the distributional aspects. So a just resilience, a social justice, meaning that it's not only those who can afford to can adapt, because we are only as resilient, as adapted as the most vulnerable among us. If we have in cities areas that are very poor, that are easily floodable, that has an impact on all of the areas of the city. Then, very important, we're going to, through the strategy, look into the macroeconomic implications of adaptation to climate change. The finance ministries have so far ignored adaptation, but it is becoming a big bill that we have to pay. All of the disasters, all of the damages, they end up with the finance ministers. It's no longer just the environment ministry that has to deal with this. So that is starting a dialogue which has not taken place yet. And a big focus on nature-based solutions because of the great co-benefits that they have for mitigation, for adaptation, but also for health and for the economy, like the restoration of a floodplain instead of building more dams or more infrastructure, more concrete. Also green roofs or green facades in cities. They have so many benefits, as I said, for health and all of the others. In terms of accelerating adaptation, this we do by investing also in innovation. We have a mission on adaptation to climate change, which is funded from Horizon Europe, the new research program of the EU, but also bringing together the structural funds and also life projects like Veneto Adapt into a mission to make Europe resilient, so make the regions of Europe resilient. And I invite the project to get involved with this, because it will be a big boost, a big focus of resources and policy attention on adaptation, and we have a lot to learn from your experience in Veneto. We're also looking to work with insurers to increase the rate of insurance and the rate of protection and the innovation in insurance that we can use, and also very importantly, fresh water, the availability and sustainability, because as you know, we will have a lot more, but also a lot less, and often in the same place. And the last focus is on international action. I mentioned this is a big novelty for 2021 in the strategy, and it means to increase the finance that we give to others to support them, because we are interested. If they are better protected, that means less destruction, less need for us to help out, less migration. We can also say that. But also we need to make sure that our investments and our development cooperation is done strategically with adaptation and with climate change action as a big framework for the intervention. And last but very much not least, global engagement and exchanges. In Europe, we have been so far relatively spared by these ravages. We've had the 2003 70,000 deaths from the heat wave, but not at the level of the Maldives, for instance, that are seeing the sea level rise with their eyes, or Bangladesh. So it's important to learn from them and also to share our experiences and our data, our important tools like Copernicus, the excellent research that we've been doing, to share it with others and learn from them in exchange. With this, I'd like to thank you, and you will hear a lot more about one particular program, LIFE, which has also supported Veneto Adapt, how it can further support you. But I would like to also repeat my thanks from the very beginning for taking action at the regional level, at the local level, because this is really what adaptation is all about. Local, specific, and empowerment. Thank you very much.
Grazie Liviu, per noi appunto che ci occupiamo di questi temi, avere dei riferimenti e conoscere le indicazioni da parte dell'Europa è sempre fondamentale. Abbiamo visto anche nel corso del nostro progetto il confronto con altri progetti, con altri finanziamenti europei, ci permette di sperimentare, ci permette di innovare nei nostri territori. E questo ci introduce un po' anche l'intervento successivo